Hi, Gloria Liebecker here from Healing You Sanctuary. I was gonna go out and be in the pasture with my horses because they're enjoying this beautiful autumn day. It's got up to about 70 degrees out here, but the wind, you might be able to hear it outside of the barn. It just wasn't gonna be mixing well with the video. So I brought you to my next favorite place to be, which is hanging out in the hay barn. Today, I've spent a little time reflecting on, the concept, how do you do something new? How do you do this thing? Maybe so, if you're like me, you might have thought you're supposed to be able to know how to do something, even though you've never done it before. You should know how, even without instruction. And so then, what might actually be preventing the learning? Well, for me, it's uncertainty. Uncertainty and doubt. The uncertainty and doubt can actually be because I don't know where to turn for help or support. In fact, I don't even know that it's possible to ask for help or support. So I was spending a little time reflecting over my life and thinking, well, what's an experience I have with this that I can share? And what came to me was a very young experience when I was in elementary school, and I was working on a word problem. And the word problem, I needed to be able to write out the answer. And there's this certain word, I don't know what it was now, but in the time I needed to learn how to spell it. And I was like, how do you find out how to spell it when you don't know how to spell it? And I contemplated that for a while. And then I know what I'll do. I'll write a note to my friend. I'll ask her how to spell it. I was quite pleased with my innovative process. So I all sat down and I had my piece of paper and my pencil and I started writing to my friend and I said, how do you spell? And then it hit me. I'm like, how could I ask how to spell it if I don't know how to spell it? It wouldn't work. And I was like stymied. Well, I do not really remember how that experience ended for me. And yet it's really a great illustration of a looping pattern. How we can, or at least I, didn't know how to do something, and I didn't know how to ask for help. And it would keep me stuck. You would think in that setting, in elementary school, that I would ask my teacher. Evidently, that was not a door that was open to me to access. And so I became a really good experiential learner. I would watch closely. I'd see how other people were doing things, and then I would experiment, and I would see how I might be able to do it. And it served me. I was able to do a lot of things that way. And yet, it could have been easier if I had known what might be possible. So another aspect of that problem that I had was I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know it was okay to ask, or that it was safe to ask for help or support when I needed it. I didn't know how to speak my truth without feeling embroiled in shame. Because I would have this inner chatter that told me, well, you should know how to do this. Figure it out. Everybody else can do it. Why can't you do it? And I'd make myself wrong. And then the older I got, the more complicated the problem became. Because, we are complex creatures. So then I got to the point where it's like, well, I could add and subtract and multiply and divide. And I could do those basic things. And then you're going to work with money. You're going to learn how to work with money and go out into the real world. And yet I didn't have real world experiences that were helping me learn how to navigate this. And again, bumping up against that same invisible wall of I don't know where to turn for help. And I don't know who to ask, even if I knew where to turn. And then there were relationships, and I could see there were a lot of different kinds of relationships. There were, you had fellow students or classmates, you have friends, you have family, you have teachers. There's all the different types of relationships. Well, inroad for me was recognizing that once I had learned something, I could begin to help others learn it. I would, if I had permission to teach, then I could speak. Then I could share a process. I could engage. And I was really good at tuning in to how other people learned and supporting them to find their answers. The only problem was that invisible wall would then reappear mysteriously anytime that I sensed or feared that I might be being watched, especially if I thought I was going to be judged by especially people that I perceived as having power, or my perception was that they know more than I do. And so with that, that inner chatter would start up again. Like, who do you think you are? You're not ever going to get it right. What do you think you're doing? You always get it wrong. You're going to end up looking like a fool and never live that down. And so shame kept me really small and limited. When I would fall into that trap, that pit, then I would begin to notice that maybe I flushed, or my heart started to beat stronger, faster. My breathing would get shallow. Maybe I'd break out in a little sweat. And what that was is my sympathetic nervous system being activated. That my body was sensing that danger was near, and that it might be more painful than I could bear. And so it was going to take me out, unless I could figure out what I might do different. So what might be possible? What did I learn that I can do? Well, I'm living proof that it's possible to continue to learn. And I recognize that life is a never-ending journey for discovering and learning new things, new ways of being, new ways of thinking. Rather than staying trapped in that spiraling loop of my inner chatter that wasn't very kind, I could begin to stretch and grow. I could recognize learning's never going to end, and I could be willing to have the courage to ask for help, to take responsibility for what I needed, to own it. And in doing that, learning the power of transparency. When I can name it, it liberates me. Because remember, shame can only exist in hiding. So when I had the courage to step out of hiding and be who I am, I started being empowered. The other thing that did was that it was enhanced by, because I'm good at tuning into folks and supporting them to discover their own truths. And so that created nurturing relationships, and those relationships can become enduring, and they can become lifelong relationships that really do make a difference in your life. And you can nurture them, and they can become reciprocal relationships where both of you matter. And then you can actually discover, like I have, that you can learn new concepts with more and more ease the more you show up authentically. And then out of that experience, you can create new resources for more people, and you can pay it forward. And that's pretty amazing. I actually wrote a few things down because today what I want to do is I want to give you some ideas that you might resonate with. And if you do, fantastic. And if you don't, no worries. What you might begin to do is slow down to begin to recognize your patterns. And listen. When you recognize the pattern, listen to how are you talking to yourself? What's your inner chatter made of? And listen with curiosity rather than judgment. And I really encourage you to develop a resonant language to describe your sensations and your emotions and your values, or what you really need in life. And as you develop that consciousness, that way of perceiving, then you can name it transparently. Name transparently what it's like to be you having this experience of that pattern. And now, the next step, here's some action steps you can take. And give it a go, see what it's like. Maybe get a journal out and write about that repeating pattern that you're beginning to notice in your life. Really unpack it. And then as you take a moment to reflect on that repeating pattern, as you listen to your inner chatter, write it down, capture it. And after you read it, or you've got it written down, take the time to be with it. As you read your inner chatter's dialogue, notice what happens in your body. And then write down all of the sensations you feel, and notice where you feel it in your body. And then pause and take time to be with the sensations in your body. Just be you with the sensation. And as you rest with the sensation, open your heart to what is the emotional flavor of the sensation that is arising in the moment. And be with that. Staying with the emotion as you journaled about it and written it down. Tune into your body and ask your body for its wisdom. What is the unmet need that's arising out of this emotion? Notice what emerges and then journal about it. And then as you rest with the unmet need, slow your experience down even more. And ask your body to remember a time when this need was fully met. And notice what emerges. And then as you let yourself immerse yourself, just bathe your whole sense of self in this memory of this need being fully met. Notice what happens in your body. And as you take your time to really immerse yourself in the sensations, notice the emotional flavor that's arising now. And journal about that. And as you rest with the felt sense of this need being fully met and what those sensations are like, where that's in your body, and what emotion now is emerging from being in this immersion, breathe deep into it at least 3 times. Just embodying it into your heart space, breathing in and out of your heart. And then reflect upon any shifts that you notice in your sense of self. And thank yourself for being willing to go on this journey, discovering more about who you are and how to transform that inner chatter to one of compassion. And if you'd like to talk more about this with me and have a conversation, you can reach me at healingyoursanctuary.com. Thanks for being with me today.